Welcome everyone to my informative presentation on ethics in the health field. In this video we will discuss definitions of ethics, some ethical dilemmas that health professionals may face, ethical frameworks that are in place for health professionals, and finally we will discuss a relevant case study. Defining ethics is not an easy thing to do. Philosophers have pondered the question for centuries. Gillian notes that a definition for the word ethics is very difficult, but says that in a public health setting, good ethics involves allowing patients autonomy, ensuring practice is beneficent, making decisions that are non-malfeasant, and that all decisions uphold a sense of justice. The Vermont Ethics Network have a more succinct definition, which states that ethics is our sense of right and wrong, and our beliefs about rights we possess and duties we owe others. The Vermont Ethics Network go on to explain that they came to this definition after regarding the four aforementioned principles of autonomy, beneficence, non-malfeasance, and justice. Overall, it is these four principles that guide our understanding of ethics in the public health field. When facing an ethical dilemma, it is always helpful to have a code of ethics or code of conduct that public health workers can refer to. In 2002, the American Public Health Association adopted a code of ethics that clearly states what is expected of them. The code contains 12 ethical principles that, if followed, will help produce better health outcomes for those who need it. The code is thorough and covers many areas. Community involvement, timeliness, and respecting diverse cultures are just three of these points. This code is helpful because it not only gives clear guidelines on the best possible practice, but it also builds trust amongst the community and possible partners. Another code that can be used in Australia is the National Code of Conduct for Healthcare Workers. This code is for unregistered healthcare workers. The code was introduced in 2015 and was implemented to state the minimum practice and ethical standards. Again, this conduct is similar to the previous mentioned one used in the US. The Australian code is longer and covers more basic issues, such as healthcare workers must be sober while at work. Both codes are thorough and can provide healthcare workers with useful information that will help guide their practice and help guide them when making ethical decisions. Public health workers will face many ethical dilemmas when working. As the scope of public health is exceptionally large, there will be differences between what some will face and what others will face. But here are just a few dilemmas that public health workers may have to deal with, according to Segura, Buran, and Carrasco. Autonomy. Autonomy refers to having control over one's choices, according to Deci and Ryan. It is difficult for public health workers to make overarching policy change or run health promotion campaigns without impeding on everyone's freedoms. The difficult part is deciding whose autonomy will be impeded and whether it is fair. For example, new legislation that limits where people can smoke is a positive health policy as it reduces the risk of people being affected by secondhand smoke. However, the smoker may feel that they are being unfairly targeted and losing their volition. This dilemma is sometimes referred to as common good versus individual autonomy. This brings us to our next common ethical dilemma: fairness. Fairness refers to when a person believes a decision is both balanced and correct. A better way to phrase this may be saying a decision is beneficent or non-malfeasant. Beneficent refers to decisions being kind and overall good, while non-malfeasant refers to making decisions that cause no harm or the least possible harm. To use the smoking location example again, it may seem fair because this is a policy that has a positive health effect, but it may not be fair to a small business owner. The customers of this place may enjoy smoking, but now they can't, they may be less inclined to go there, which unfairly affects a small business owner. So this healthy policy may be beneficent, but not non-malfeasant. An example of a real-life ethical dilemma is the government's no jab, no play policy. The policy states that children who attend a kindergarten must be vaccinated unless they have a medical exemption. The policy will mean that unvaccinated children may not be allowed to enroll into a kindergarten, and parents may not be able to get government supplements for their children. The aim of the policy is to encourage parents to vaccinate their children. This was introduced after the government found there were worryingly low vaccination rates amongst young children. There were several parties involved: the children, the carers of the children, the kindergarten staff, the government, and healthcare professionals. Children, as they're the ones being vaccinated; the carers, as they have some control over what happens to their children; the kindergarten staff, as they spend time with the children; the government, as they made the policy; and healthcare professionals, as they will be involved with the immunisation process. The policy was met with some backlash, as mainly parents felt that their autonomy was being threatened. Parents felt that they should be able to choose whether their children were vaccinated, and these personal choices should not be up to the government. Some parents feared that their religious freedom was being impeded as well. There were, however, exemptions for people who could not be vaccinated due to medical concerns. Healthcare professionals rallied behind the government's new legislation. They saw the benefits in the policy. They used their clout to advocate for the policy and convince people to vaccinate their children. As many codes of conduct say, healthcare professionals should provide the best care, and many healthcare professionals found a moral obligation to encourage vaccination and this policy. The government was facing stiff opposition from carers and parents, despite how they felt that their policy was a positive one. The policy would ultimately reduce the risk of children getting sick from serious diseases. However, the cost of this was taking away the self-determination of some people. It would be fair to say that this policy was beneficent, however, it was not completely non-malfeasant. In the end, the legislation went ahead, despite its opposition. Amendments were made so that it became easier for people to access the vaccine. It was felt that the overall benefit of the policy was more significant than the negatives. Or, it did more kindness than it did harm. Although the issues were not completely resolved, the government acted in a way that it felt was best for the community. It is good to see the government work in a way that benefits the majority of the community. I believe that healthcare bodies should have a clear code of ethics that staff must read. They should be trained in how to handle difficult situations and have a person or a group who they can talk to about these situations. The staff should be able to discuss these dilemmas with their team and create solutions that are the most beneficial. I believe it is important to implement these actions because, as the saying goes, there's always two sides to a story, so a decision can often be very hard to make. With training, support, these staff members can act in a way that will allow them to produce the best care.